Shut up and sit down.
If the road to hell is paved with good intentions, with the condition of State Route 81, the Peninsula Development Road, it would mean that Weipa is an oasis in the far north Queensland, as the only good intentions you'll find on this road are from your fellow victims travelling back down. They say there is nothing like this town, but it really does remind me of Darwin before Cyclone Tracy. It's a hard town, connected to civilization by a road littered by broken down wrecks too expensive for anyone to recover. It's a mining town where everything is frozen fresh, has real size tyre walls, and one of the weirdest gateways I've ever seen. Sitting here watching the sunset over the water for the first time in some 25 years, I can tell you that Weipa is a Rio Tinto town, where everything is either run or subsidised by the mining giant. I used to think that miners were well paid, but everything up here just costs a small fortune. I paid $13.90 for a takeaway chicken burger, and one of the two restaurants in town was closed on a Friday night because they lacked staff. It's a town where people fall into two main categories, either working for the mining giant and have enough money to survive, or not working in the mine where they're struggling to pay the high prices. There's a real divide between the young people who are here for a couple of years and those who have nowhere else to go. After riding to Weipa, Cape York is a challenge I'm going to save for another day. There is something said about being smart enough to realise one's own stupidity. Sitting here writing this, I overheard a neighbour shout out, "What's that?" To which my host replied, "It's a motorcycle." The neighbour continued, "What's it doing here?" My host replied, "The guy rode it here." "Oh, you're kidding me," the neighbour exclaimed as he drove off. So instead of destroying my bike and ending up this journey somewhere on the road to the Cape, I think I'll try a different option later on. On the way up, I passed an organised tour group riding dirt bikes up from Cairns, and there's also Heartland helicopter tours, although costing about 10 grand for 2 tickets. But in the end, here's me putting those swimmers and towels to some good use. There comes a point when you have to accept that it wasn't skill or talent that meant I've managed to wake up in my Airbnb and not a hospital bed. It was straight in your face dumb luck, or an act of divine intervention. There was a massive pothole that I couldn't avoid. I just braced the bike and somehow managed to keep it 2 wheels down. There was old mud holes with dried up tyre tracks that were like hitting concrete gutters. There was piles of sand so loose that I only managed to get through the oscillations because I had enough speed. There were corrugations so bad that I think I've given up on fatherhood. There were kangaroos blind enough to jump right out on you just at the worst moment. I managed to dodge one, but I hit another. There were cows that were just standing in the middle of the road, but were smart enough to move out of the way from an angry rev bomb. Heading west with the sun in my eyes, I was running out of daylight and I couldn't see the potholes from the shadows with the sun visor down. So in total, there was 5 near-death experiences and some 2 permanent disabilities. It's a road that leaves you with PTSD every time you see a dip sign. You hear of stories of people getting lost in the desert and having hallucinations of water on the horizon. On Route 81, you have hallucinations of bitumen in the distance, and sometimes it's actually true. I planned 2 stops along the way. The first was at the Han River Roadhouse and the other was at the Archer River Roadhouse. Getting to the first stop was quite easy and enjoyable, getting some overpriced bacon and eggs with a flat white. I even had time to film a curious emu looking to pilfer some food from passers-by. From the Roadhouse to Cowan, there was some 50-kilometre stretch with some terrifying dips. No better than a National Park access trail. Initially I thought all the problems were going to be in the National Park between Cowan and the Archer River, but that road was actually quite decent. Arriving at the Archer River Roadhouse, where there was lots of action going on from building the new bridge. The guy behind the counter told me that the road from here to Weipa was actually quite decent. He obviously doesn't ride a motorcycle. I was expecting, with the RAF base just outside of Weipa, that the federal government would have shot in some money to at least link the base to the town. But that was just another bad assumption. After the wet season, the corrugation to the towns was so bad that it knocked any belief out of me that I could make it to the Cape and back within a day. It's an 80 zone and I was going a little over, and the locals were passing me like I was standing still. They seemed to bounce over the corrugations, a trick that would have left me no traction on a motorcycle. Returning to the Cape would have been a 1,000 kilometre journey with nothing but dirt. After completing Route 81 with only about 350 kilometres of dirt, it would have been a journey some 3 times longer that would have likely ended my entire lap around Australia. In a mining town, anything that's air conditioned is just heaven. My host has been living up here for some 20 years and her life is going to change dramatically once the highway is passable all year round. People up here do the best with what they have, and if you expect big city professionalism, then you're just going to be disappointed. The accommodation is really a reflection of the entire town. It is an experience that I was hoping to get when I set out on this journey. If you're heading to Weipa expecting it to be a little Cairns, then maybe Cooktown is where you should stop, or give it about 10 years for this place to develop a little bit more. The exhaust has a nice big ding in it, and I'm not sure what to do about it. I don't think I could do anything about it until I get back to a major population. The internet suggests that I put water in it, then let it freeze. I think I'll just leave it until I get to the Northern Territory, then get some new oil into the engine, then try doing 200 kilometres plus down the Stewart Highway. Hopefully the exhaust will blow the ding right out of it. It's a Honda and I'm now dependent on the legendary reputation for reliability to get me back down the road and hopefully around the rest of Australia. No Vodafone up here, which means that while I'm off the Wi-Fi, no phone, no SMS or 4G. The Wi-Fi isn't that bad, although it drops in and out. Imagine everything is running through a geostationary satellite sponsored by Rio Tinto. Starlink has increased their availability, is now cutting off after Rockhampton. It's steadily moving west, and we'll see if it beats me to Port Handle End or not. When I came up, they were in the middle of grading the road, and hopefully they'll knock out those corrugations before it's time to leave. I now know the road. Heading south, I should no longer have the sun in my eyes. I need only get back to the Han River Roadhouse before dark, which is a bit over 400 kilometres from here, as the road beyond there should be two-wheel drive friendly, and I should be able to ride the rest at night, which should allow me to slow down a bit. But with PTSD, I'm still tempted to get the bike shipped back down and catch a plane out of here. I'm about a year too early for Starlink and about 2 years too early for Weipa. I brought a road bike to do this trip knowing that Route 81 was the only dirt I'd likely to encounter. But with all the traffic, the caravan towing 4x4s and the road trains, I really did think that the highway would be in much better condition. This town is really going to change from the hard drinking mining town to Queensland's most northern tourist town and the gateway to the Cape once the highway is done. I'm somewhat disappointed about not completing my goal of making it to the Cape, but it was never the point of this journey and I think I've already risked too much making my way to Weipa. Next stop is going back down Route 81 to Cairns, so thanks for following my journey around Australia and remember to go out there and do something to enjoy your day.